From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, yes, indeed, we have made it. It is Friday. I am Keith Allen, and so glad we have made it. It's just been one of those weeks where, man, just been going at the speed of now. As you know, some weeks go faster than others. This one couldn't have made it any quicker. But here we are. Thankfully, here it is on a Friday. We have so much to talk about, and hope you'll tune in. And if you could sit down and just absorb some of this stuff, because I'm going to come at you with a lot of information. The first is to do with drugs and an addiction that has really been a pandemic, if you will, and an epidemic, really, in many sorts in this country, and it has to do with opioids. And I don't know if you know anything about it or anybody that you know that might be on these painkillers, but typically people that are prescribed these are, cancer patients, people that are in just massive pain. The problem is that doctors who take an oath to do no harm are doing all sorts of harms for many people. And we're talking doctors, a record 31 to hit with sanctions in just the state of New Jersey. So you can imagine if New Jersey is under attack, just how many other states are going to be under attack here. And by the way, Opioid RX, this abuse for these painkillers, this stuff is much more addictive than heroin. We're talking 50 times, if not more, percentage than heroin itself, and heroin is majorly addictive. You've heard of people that have been addicted to nicotine. They say it has heroin tendencies, nothing close to heroin, but that's what they compare it. There's no comparison. Nicotine, heroin, you don't go through the withdrawals like you do heroin. And with opioid, it's even much worse from what I understand. So this New Jersey physician, massive harm to Middlesex County, and to his alleged weapon was the addictive painkiller Oxycontin. And this doctor was indicted last summer. And he was said to have prescribed a staggering 60,000 tablets of Oxycontin to more than 24 people he never even examined or met. He was ruthless. He made my son into an addict. This is David DeMonico, whose son Robert was one of the people who got prescriptions for oxycodone from Beecher, who, even though he never met with the doctor, he says, my son started taking it. He was injured in the military, he had pain, and he quickly got addicted. The doctor just kept writing prescriptions, the highest dosage, 3 days in a row, and the pharmacy kept filling it. Beecher's case is scheduled to go in front of the status conference on April 7th, according to Middlesex County court officials, and it's being represented by attorney Robert Ghilardanti, who could not be reached for comment, obviously. He's just not going to talk. Beecher is one of a record 31 doctors who New Jersey authorities sanctioned in the past 12 months, saying that they overprescribe painkillers and other narcotics. New Jersey has pursued these criminal charges against some of and imposed sanctions, including suspension and taking away their license to practice. We're talking 31 doctors, folks, in New Jersey. This is very serious. And this stuff is for sale. You can actually get this stuff on the street. And here in the state of Florida, where I do the show, drug dealers would face manslaughter charges for opioid overdose users under a proposed Florida law. It's that serious, folks. And there's going to be a crackdown, and hopefully this will be all over the United States. This unscrupulous doctor is part of a concentrated effort led by New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's administration to fight the opioid epidemic on multiple fronts: law enforcement, medical, and preventative educational campaign. The reason I am dedicating some time to this is because there's millions of Americans that are addicted to this very thing I'm talking about. It's an epidemic. People are addicted to it, these painkillers. I know there's a character on TV that Pop Vicodin all the time for his leg pain. House, remember the House deal? There was a movie out that was a great movie. You got to see it, and it chronicled the life of Ray Charles, the late Ray Charles. And it was played by Jamie Foxx, the character. Very well, by the way. Jamie Foxx, just brilliant actor, but portrayed, for many people that knew Ray Charles, excellently. But if you didn't know, Ray Charles was addicted for many, many, many years to heroin. And you understood what heroin addiction does and how it destroys a life. And it almost took his, Ray Charles, that is, and messed him up badly. But you can see what he went through and the lives that he hurt, family lives, his own life, and finally broke free of it. I don't want to give away too much of the movie, but that's part of the movie. But there was a miracle that happened in his life, and it happened to do with his mother. So watch the movie. I know many of you just don't have time, but if I come across a movie that I think is great, and you'll have a new appreciation, honest to goodness, for Ray Charles. Great musician, great music. I love this, one of his most famous songs, Georgia on My Mind. Georgia, I'm not a singer. But when he died several years ago, it happened to have gone up to one of the best sellers on iTunes. People they do that. They realize, wow. So it's basically rediscovering music that's already been. So what's old is new again. But after you see the movie, you'll definitely be addicted to some of his music, and it'll be positive. But he was addicted to drugs, and a lot of people are just not so lucky to be able to get through the pain. Many people commit suicide, and they do all sorts of bad things, but you get addicted to this stuff. It just breaks down your body, kills your liver, and you're just not, you don't function as a normal person can be. And these doctors who are so irresponsible while writing these prescriptions, and of course they get greedy, and they're dangerous, and they're addictive medications. And if you know anybody that's on it, they need to get off it. They need to get off it. I mean, some of you, you pop Tylenol like it's going out of business. It's your M&Ms. Stop doing that. It will. You only have one liver. It floors me how people just little teeny toe pain. They're popping Tylenol. They're popping this and they're popping that. Save it for a rainy day. Use it sparingly. And yes, your body does get used to different types of medications, and your brain gets sucked into it. But your body gets addicted. It really, really does. It just breaks my heart, and I'm looking at a map here of the United States, and it shows most of the United States, there's investigations going on for hundreds of clinics. And there is more than 600 legislative bills addressing opioid prescriptions that are pending. And like I said, 49 states this year, according to the American Academy of Family Physicians. The American Academy of Family Physicians. And last year, there were 1,000. Okay, so you say, where do you get that information? What are you talking about? Well, there it is. And such legislative actions may have saved Robert DeMonico, once a healthy U.S. Army officer, the Kent University student who made it into the National Honor Society, he committed suicide in the fall of 2014 at the age of 21. Opioid addiction. That Dr. Beecher did it all for money, says his father, who still breaks down when speaking of his son's tragic experience. Now, New Jersey, like many U.S. other states, has been hit by this opioid epidemic that led to nearly 1,600 documented overdoses in 2015, an increase of 21% over 2014, according to the state's medical records. And it's representing the largest number of doctors who have been sanctioned since they've been doing this, according to New Jersey Attorney General Chris Perino. He told Fox News about the sanctions against doctors. It's very serious. He says it's a serious problem because so many people become addicted through the initial legal use of prescription opioids. We feel one very important part of our effort to prevent addiction is to ferret out doctors who are not following the rules. So for those that sell these things, this is like the evil of all evils, and it's just getting worse across the country, and the death rate is increasing. It's very, very unfortunate. They say authorities said Beecher knowingly wrote the prescriptions for oxycodone and Xanax and then killed so many. We allege that even after a young man died from narcotics that Dr. Beecher falsely prescribed, Beecher and the victim, his own father, defendant Andrew Stoven, callously continued to profit by supplying tens of thousands of oxycodone pills to drug dealers. So this is just really, really bad. And like I say, it's not just one doctor. And some doctors, I think they think that they're doing the right thing, but there's more greed than anything. And, they're supposed to take the oath. But again, it's human greed, and that's what gets people in trouble. That's unfortunate, and they're just trying to make a buck. They're killing people, doing really, really bad things. Here's a big question. Is President Trump a racist? Well, Google Assistant may have the answer for that. This is something that kind of caught my eye because I'm like, okay, what is Google talking about? And if your question is, let's see, less raw than this, that's a heck of a question. But people Google the darndest things, don't they? Is Donald Trump a racist? If it's repeated allegations from some of the left and much of the mainstream media, the top result I got was from the left-leaning Huffington Post. Here are 16 examples of Donald Trump being racist, which gives a laundry list of reasons. And the story was put together by Brooke Crothers. And he goes on to say that the story also discusses Steve Bannon, chief strategist for the president, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And if your question is reprised in less raw, accusatory items such as, is President Trump racially insensitive, the top results are, again, the Huffington Post story, and stories like Vox, Trump win, is it reminders of the incredible, unbeatable power of racism. So stories, with the Huffington Post or the Inquirer or CNN or stuff like that, this is what you're going to get. So it's kind of interesting where people do their research and they're taking verbatim what Google Assistant says, and then they come away because they did their research on Google. Well, he must be, and all his cabinet is too, because of the story and the fake news that's been put out. And Google happens to be one of the largest search engines. Oh, yeah, we know. Mark Zuckerberg, he said he was going to do everything that he could within his power to try to take off the fake news, but the fake stories are prevailing. You just ask Google Assistant, and there it is. There's nothing fair. There's nothing balanced. It's Silicon Valley. It's Silicon Valley. But the only way that crap like that's going to stop on these search engines to propagate this garbage with these search algorithms when you go in is for people to actually complain. The same way you call your senators, same way you